Self.
Okay, unmute yourself.
I think they are unmuted, but we don't hear them.
Can't hear you.
Your mic is on. I know you're there.
Well, they'll be joining back with us shortly.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day
Hmm.
it's right there. Valentine's Day is right there, actually tomorrow. And so many people, they're going to have mixed emotions. They're going to be going through situations in their emotions because of the
Yeah.
fact that they don't know if they're going to be somebody's Valentine or not. But one thing is for sure, it is more than just a holiday. It's one day, not out of 365 days out of the year. It's one day. Why would you base your emotions and feelings and get caught up because of one day? Rhonda, Jason, are you there?
We are here. Can you
Can you
hear
hear
us
us?
now?
Oh, wow.
Yes,
There you
I
go.
hear you. Yay. Thank you
Transferring
so
from
much for
Zoom to
joining us.
you're welcome. From transferring from Zoom to StreamYard, Zoom to
Yeah.
StreamYard. It has a microphone issue, but we're here.
Yeah,
Yes,
it does.
absolutely.
It does. I went through that as well using Zoom and then come over here and they said your camera's still being shared. And I'm like, no, it's
Yeah, I think that's a little ghost, phantom ghost somewhere when you switch from these two different platforms because it's
Yes.
happened to me too. You're going, no, what's going on here? It's like Zoom said, no, not on my watch,
Right, right.
So you have to come on all together.
Well, we
But
just
it's so
thank
good.
you all for this opportunity.
Well, no, we thank you all, and let me say this to you all, and I just want to acknowledge this publicly. Uh, there's been nothing more encouraging to me from afar than watching what you all have done, watching the example that you guys have been. And I call it an authentic example. Sometimes people they become what I call optics example. We got to do this because that's what the optics look like. But the transparency, the realness of you guys, being able to talk about the good, bad, and ugly, and not always painting this picture like, oh, we never had a problem ever before at all. No. And that's
not.
been encouraging even for those I think like myself who have failed at love or failed in marriage or whatever. And oftentimes that pain that is there leaves you reflecting on just that pain. But when I look
Mhm.
at individuals such as yourselves and others, it gives hope, it gives inspiration. It says, listen, it can work. It's not a artificial construct that's out there saying,
Mhm.
it'll never work. So I want to thank you guys because you guys have taken it another step further inside of your marriage institutes and all. And thing you guys did something. I'm going to allow you all to talk about it because I don't even think I may have shared this with Dr. Val. One of the things that blew me away with you guys is that you all did something that we don't see happening very often. That you guys took the opportunity to celebrate marriages, to celebrate couples. I mean, literally, I mean, like a black tie affair type thing to celebrate marriages and and I just believe that it's an encouragement. It's an encouragement when people say we celebrate this union. So, hey, I'm excited. Dr. Val, I'm going to give it back to you because I
Well,
get all.
yes, I would like to hear from my guests to talk about it further because, love is not just an emotion, and I'm sure they can expound on it so clearly because they not only speak to married but single individuals. So you have the floor to share because, like I said, Valentine's Day is tomorrow, and a lot of people base their emotions on that one day.
Oh, gee, don't do it. I'm here to advise you. Don't do it. Don't use that emotion up on that one day. But
Exactly.
like we said, we are the Turners. We've been married for going on 26 years, and
Wow.
it has not always been peaches and cream. I can
Yeah.
tell you that. But we are grateful for what God has done for us in this marriage, that we are able to help someone else. So we just grateful. I'm gonna let you go.
Well, yeah. It's been 26 wonderful years,
Mhm.
Dr. Thicklin. Yeah, it's been all peaches and cream. But I learned, and because my parents have been together a long time. Once I got married, I understood it's a marathon. It wasn't a race. Having good examples in front of me. I'm the baby of my parents' kids, and I'm in my 50s, so that allows you to know how long they've been together, and
Right.
they're still together. And I've watched them in their journey, and they had their ups and downs. But one thing my mom always told me, she said, "Baby, if you ain't going nowhere, then just shut up and handle it. You ain't leaving. You ain't going nowhere. Just put your big boy shorts on and let's go deal with it and keep it moving." And so
Wow.
that's the approach I've always taken. You know, my wife would tell you I don't play joke or even think it's a something to say about leaving, divorce, or all. I don't go down that alley, that road. You know, we're in this thing, we're in it together. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna do what we have to do, and go from there. One thing we know is God bless marriages.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You know,
And so, but here's something that I want to ask, because I know people think in terms of this. You know, whether we've seen a successful marriage or we've had a failed marriage, at the end of the day, a person has to make up their own minds about, I'm going to stay. You know, I'm in it to win it, and inside of that, how have you been able to do this? Definitely in the midst of cultural norms that has been more or less suggested. Look here, it ain't working. Goodbye. Hey, I ain't got to put up with this. How have you all been able to tread the water in the climate that we have lived in, definitely over the last 20 something years, the climate where marriage is disposable? Unfortunately, I've seen people, friends, and people I know that was married 25, 26 years, and they call it quits. They divorce, listen, my track record haven't been the best in terms of that, but I understand. And I go back, I evaluate, I go back, I reflect, I go back, I unpack, I talk about things, I talk to God. I say, okay, what was my expectation? Because I believe ultimately that there is no failure necessarily in expectations, but the only failure that it really is the expectation that you had. In other words, when we have a sense of trust, we have a sense of foundation, we're aligned together with our values and things, that is something very powerful. But when we have sometimes unrealistic expectations, we have an expectation of one another that may not necessarily be rooted in our values, that's where disappointment comes in. That's where we feel like there's been a failure, and you let me down, and you wasn't what you're supposed to be. So my real question is, how have you guys been able to navigate through this climate where so many things seem to take precedence over love? You have people, if they don't make this type of, if they ain't got a 6-figure or 7-figure, they ain't got time for them, or you're dealing with all these superficial things there. And yet it's still, you guys been able to hold it together 26 years, raising a family, doing all those things there in the midst of this total climate that we have that suggests just the opposite.
I would say first and foremost that God is at the forefront of that. But with that being said, communication. I can tell you years ago when we first was together, first marriage, and I didn't care what I say, and I want to say it right now. This is what I want to say. I want to say it right now. I had to learn that everything wasn't supposed to be said right then. That there's a time and there's a place for everything to be said. So sometimes I had to jump back and say, okay, let me get back and say it a different way, because most of the time when you get ready to say stuff, you say just what you feel and how you feel. And if you're angry at that time, guess what happens?
Wow.
How he translated, it gets all discombobulated because I'm mad.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I think that helps. That helped us in our relationship, and it still works to this day.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, to a certain degree, you was willing to learn.
Yes.
You was willing to learn that, listen, even we can say something that could be right, but the way that we say it could destroy the whole thing.
Yes.
Sometimes I call it, what comes up comes out, can oftentimes get us in trouble, because one thing about words, And hurtful words, when it's out there, it does the damage. You can't go back and say, hey, come back here, and put it in a bottle. Now, the person may can get over it through the right healing and nurturing and massaging of it and things, but you can't go back and gather those words. So you kind of learn that, listen, here, before I just say something any type of way, I need to consider what I'm saying, consider
That's
what
right.
the damage may be and those type things. And so, but that doesn't make you a smaller person, right? Because we are living in a climate that you have girlfriends who say, "Girl, yeah, that could be me. I'm gonna let him know, 'cause I'm a straight shooter. I'm not," and all that type of foolishness, which is a sign of foolishness, because it's even like religion. Paul, any man seem to be religious and bridle not his tongue. His religion is in vain. So any person who seems to know it all but don't know how to bridle their tongue, don't know how to entreat somebody, really you're dealing with a person who's a little bit twisted, because of the fact, when you consider what I'm saying to this other person, the damage, is that my intent to damage them? Is that my intent to cut them? Is it my intent to intimidate them? And I think that when if we can answer those things inwardly before we say it, I think it makes a big difference.
Well, it makes me save my marriage.
Wow, I love that.
Well, also, from a man's point of view, one thing I established early in our relationship is respect.
Yeah,
I'm going to respect you, and you're going to respect me.
Wow.
We can have a conversation. We can get angry. We can have this, but we're going to be respectful to one another. My name is Jason. Your name is Rhonda.
Okay.
That's how we're gonna go about this. I don't call my wife anything other than her name, even when I'm angry, because I want her to understand and know. One thing I found out is when you know who you're talking to, it puts you in a better frame of mind of what you say. When you start calling them anything other than name, you forget who you're talking to.
Wow.
So when I say Rhonda, it lets me know, okay, I'm talking to my wife.
Mm.
So now when we had these points, like she say, even when she wants to say what she wants to say, she'll tell you as we sit here. I look at her, man, who you talking to? The last time I checked, I was your husband. I don't, and then she'll think about it and she'll be like, well, I didn't mean, but sometimes it's just at that point we have to remind each other, and it's not coming across in a way of anger or mean, but let's make sure that we don't get into the argument and it gets to a point, like you say, where you say something that you can't take back. And that's one of the first things we did. We established that. And as our relationship, you gotta remember, we got married young. So we kind of grew into this thing together. We did these pitfalls together. We made these mistakes together. But we understood we were making them together.
Wow.
That leads me into my question I was going to ask you regarding that. There's so many people get caught up in the wedding and not what the marriage is. How do you talk to individuals regarding false expectations as it relates to the marriage?
Well, I look at it this way. Don't put more on them that you wouldn't put on yourself. Sometimes we have more expectations of our mate than we have of ourselves. Sometimes we want them to be more than we want to be ourselves. We have to have realistic expectations. There's certain things what we call deal breakers. You have those deal breakers, and you have that conversation and talk ahead of time. Listen, these are things that are real personal for me, and I would appreciate it if you stay away from these things, because the wedding is just the day. You have to wake up tomorrow and get up and go to work. If you got kids, you got bills, you got family. If your expectations of your wife is well beyond what she's capable of doing, then you may have married the wrong woman.
Wow.
So this is something that really should be discussed prior to the wedding. So those people that are dating, Rhonda, maybe you can answer this for me. Those individuals that are dating and you're looking forward to that wedding day, what were the expectations that you had, and how did you discuss those with Jason?
Well, so everybody is going to be different. And always remember that. One of the things I could say before wedding make sure you get some guidance. Make sure you just don't say, okay, I got these little butterflies and because most of the time, sometimes we've all been through some stuff in life. And I can tell you, after we got married, a week later, we went back to the pastor that married us, and we was telling him we had this problem, that problem, that problem, that problem. That pastor said, well, you should have told me this beforehand. I just really think you should make sure you get, because a lot of times we think we know our mates. We know them. Right. I've been with you 2 years, so I know you.
Until you live with them.
Live with them. Years go by. Everybody start making changes in their life. And you don't know when those changes are going to start happening. So make sure you get some guidance. Make sure you understand the word, and that you can actually be that light for him, and he be that light for you. You understand what I'm saying? Because sometimes that you're gonna need that guidance. Get it before you cross that.
And that's why we wanted the show to be, it's more than a feeling, because people get so caught up in that feeling, that emotion of that, the butterflies and the happiness and thinking it's going to be like this every day. But all of that fades away because real life happens. Life be lifing. And what are you going to do when that happens? So do you have any tips that you can share with individuals that are recently married or have been married for a while and they're at a threshold where it's a make or break deal right now? What tips would you give to help fortify that they would keep on going?
So I can tell you this: when I met my husband, I had 3 kids. But I wasn't married, but I had 3 kids before my husband. And so we had a busy life ahead of time. So one of the things I would advise anyone in our relationship, we learned later on, like 5 years or whatever down the line, that we need to take that time out for us.
Yes.
We definitely have to take that time out for us. Once a month, we were spending that time together, a weekend together, just to get that build that relationship. We would spend that weekend together. We would just go down to Miami. We don't have to go far, but we would just go down to Miami and spend that whole weekend together. And that just built communications between us, and it just built that love even more. You have to have that time together with each other.
I would also tell them to always present yourself as who you are.
Yes.
Oh, I like that, Jess. I like that.
Authentic.
Yeah, you have to present yourself to who you are. My dad always told me, say, son, don't start something you can't continue to do, because they would expect that. So when you present yourself in this way, and all of a sudden you can't continue to be this presentation, now that your mate feels like you gave them a false sense of who you were.
Wow.
So now you start to change, and I'm like, wait a minute, who is this person? You open the door for me before, now you don't care how I get in the car. You did this. So now all of a sudden,
that's a good one. That's a good one, Jason.
So it happens.
Yeah, and it happens. So you have to kind of be authentic as close as you can be, because this like I said, it's a marathon. It's not a race. And the second thing is, as I tell especially young couples, sell out. When you take your vows are supposed to be for life. Don't go in there with an escape clause. See, when Dr. Finkler said that, he was talking about these people, they go in knowing that I got an escape clause. It's called divorce. I can leave anytime I want to.
Wow.
But we didn't have an escape clause. This is it. So I'm selling out. Everything you see is what you're going to get. So I'm pouring it all out. So guess what? Now you know what you are. You know who you are. You know what you're getting. Guess what? Now we can build. And the things that I need to work on, we work on together. The things she need to work on, we work on together. And we begin to kind of know, okay, this is what she likes. This is what I like. And as we grew older and farther in the relationship, things changed. But guess what? We didn't have no problem talking about it, having a conversation, understanding this is what happens. So when you go into these relationships, like she said, first thing we would say is make sure you seek some counseling. Make sure that you have someone that you can be open with. And it's not about something always wrong.
Right.
Counseling is about what's wrong. It's about being able to express just how you're feeling at that time.
You know, it's amazing. You guys are really sharing some really powerful tips, and I'm hearing that at the staple of what I've heard you guys talk about is really how important communication is. Number one, and authentic communication. Number two, but what I also heard from you guys is that to a certain degree, you were willing to go back and learn. Because there were some things that, wow, you know, 1 week afterwards, like, oh, hold up, I don't know who this person is, you know, and I think too often, even when we discover that this person may not be exactly what we thought it was, doesn't mean that you were necessarily deceived, but it does mean that we did not have a clear understanding on the role. And I wonder, sometime when it comes to love and relationship, how much do our perception of love derails us? In other words, you know, we entitled this show tonight, love is not just a feeling, it's not just an emotion, and yet it's still everything that we see depicted in movies, everything that we see depicted in songs is all about a feeling and emotion. And you guys make me think about something, and this was so powerful what you said, because I'm sitting there learning. I believe that you can always learn. I heard you say the fact that, first of all, we didn't start off the normal way. There was already 3 kids aboard. So guess what? Not only are we coming together as a marriage, you know, this is a newness with one, but we're both married and we're parents. So that means that we have double roles. We're husband and wife, and we are parents at the same time. You know, oftentimes when people get married, you know, they're planning, you know, we're going to have 2 kids, we're going to have a this and that. And so they have time to look forward to, but you kind of found yourself immediately immersed inside of that. But it looked like you guys found a way to pivot around it. Understand, look here, well, this ain't going away, all right? The 3 kids ain't going away. It may be 4 or 5 added later, but the 3 kids aren't going away. So okay, right. So how do we pivot and find time to still cultivate who we are? Because I do believe that sometime in marriages long term, we have to be careful, because of the fact we'll find out that we stay together solely for the children's sake. Then when the children leave, we ain't got nothing left but, okay, we're roommates. All right, time to go. But by the same token, you guys said, look, no, let's find time to nurture us, because we need to be fed. We need to be able to feed each other. And let me just say this here, because in my reflecting back and my learning, and I'm still learning, I'm going to be the best version. Somebody going to get the best version of a man they ever got, because there's so much knowledge and wisdom, lived experience, understanding what failure is, knowing all those things there. But one of the things that I think is so important, and Jason, I've never told you this, man. I just have always admired your consistency, your demeanor in terms of that. I have never seen you in a state of pretense. I have never seen you trying to be somebody else, you know. Yeah. I mean, although I consider you guys an authority when it comes to marriage and relationship, I have never seen that, you know, you try to pretend anything. You've been very authentic. And so as a man, it speaks volumes to me in terms of it, you know, because you've just got through admitting here to us that, hey, we've had to go back. We've had to do some homework. We've had to learn some things. We've had to put some things in place. And in doing so, in growing together, it has strengthened the bond. And so every day is not emotion.
Dr. J, you got a lot of questions you've asked and answered. They haven't answered anything.
Well, he's excited, Dr. Valley. He's excited. He's loving it.
I've gotten excited because of the fact I do believe that you guys become a living answer and a living proof to many things. Because oftentimes when people break up and they split, a lot of times they don't go back to reflect. They hold on to the pain of blaming the other person. Well, if they have, and they're there, and that stays in that pipeline. And when they try to move on into another relationship, they're bringing that bitterness there. They're bringing that judgment there. They're bringing all those things there. And they did not learn lessons. In other words, sometimes we can adhere to what we believe to the point that we can't grow. We choke the very ability to learn out of the whole situation. I'm done. I'm not going to say now. I'm going to give it.
What I can tell you is love is only a part of your relationship.
Yeah.
But what shows up for you is when you're not happy with that person, are you still willing to serve?
Wow.
When you guys on the best of terms, are you still willing to be and show up for your mate? As many days, I'm quite sure my wife didn't want to be bothered with me, but she made sure I had a meal on the table.
Wow.
You know, she made sure that I had clothes to put on my back.
Yeah.
You know, and so when my mom always said, I can love you from down the street. You know,
Wow.
I can love you from anywhere. But what happens after that? So it's how you show up in those times when things get hard, when things aren't going the way you want to be, when you're not getting your way.
Yeah.
You know, do you still show up? Do you
Wow.
still do the things that you're supposed to do? Do you still come home and pay the bills? You know, put food on the table? You know, when you get into bed at night, do you still put your arms around her, even though, you know, hey, it may not be the best right now, but guess what? I'm still here.
Wow.
Knowing that she don't want to be bothered with you, but guess what? I'm still here. My wife will tell you, she can get mad at me all she wants to. But one place I ain't never going is the couch. You go to the couch. This bed.
You're not gonna be sitting to the couch. Okay, I got you.
I ain't going there. You can go to the couch. I knew to go to what couch?
Yeah, you're not going to the couch.
Ain't
You're
happening.
not going to the couch.
You can be mad, but guess what? We're gonna be mad in this bed together.
I got you.
Because it's to me that it just don't work. You know,
Wow.
I'm here for the long haul, and so love is a part of it. But that work, man, you got to put in that work.
And I will often say, and I tell other couples, we don't even look at this. So I start using this. We work so hard at our jobs, and we like making sure them people won't fire us because we gonna do what needs to be done. Why can't we do that for our marriage?
Perfect analogy.
Why can't we do it for our marriage?
Wow.
It's not a morning that my husband will leave the house and don't kiss me. I don't care if I'm mad, sad, glad. He will always kiss me before he leaves. That's meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got to put the work in. You have to put the work in.
Wow.
Absolutely. I want you to go back regarding children. You already had children and come into marriage. So how was that having you, Jason, walk in and having to cover them?
Well, it wasn't hard for me. But my wife made it easy because she allowed me to be the man I need to be. I think a lot of times you run a situation where the woman wants to hover over. You know, don't you say this? Or, she didn't do any of that. You know, if I disciplined them kids, she was like, okay. You know, and even if she had a problem with it, it was never in front of the kids. We'd go in the room and we're talking about it. She asked me, well, why? What happened? Why did, you know? And maybe she didn't always like my reason, but if I had a valid reason and what I was doing with the kids, you know, they saw a unified front.
Right.
And once they saw that, they understood, okay, now we got to deal with this situation. And then on top of that, once I understood and she understood how, you know, we're here and I'm here for this, then I turn my attention to make sure the kids understand, okay, I'm here for y'all as well.
Wow.
So, you know, it wasn't about just, I'm disciplining you. I'm not just going to discipline you and we're not going to have a conversation. Hey, this is why this happened. This is why this had to be done. And you need to understand, this is what happens when these things happen. But not just in the disciplinary. When they did something in school, I want to make sure I'm there to let them know, hey, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You know, if they done something in sports, I show up. If you show up in their lives and be consistent, like you say, and they see that, guess what? They fall in line just like everybody else.
And I'm here to tell you, my 4 boys, that's who they call. Through the years, that's who they call. They call him 2 or 3 times a day. Well, I will say my oldest one will reach out to me because keep them in prayer. But that's who they call. That's the one they call. Question, Pop, can you tell me this? Can you tell me that? So he built that. And I a little short story. I remember my second oldest got in trouble at his mom's house. And this was the first time I ever seen him discipline him. So it was like, oh, I'm finna get you. I'm finna get you for what you did. And I was like, I'm in the room like, well, what happened? Because I didn't go that day. I was like, well, what happened? And he wound up chastising him. And then, but the plus part was it that I was comfortable with was that he went and told him why.
Wow.
He went and talked to him and broke down why. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if my son gonna talk to him again. You know, this was in my head. But he was right up under him the next day. And I'm like, well, probably the next couple of hours. And I'm like, wow. And so to be honest, my child he's 34 now. So he's still up under him.
Right. So talk about the power of unity, because I can definitely identify with what you're saying, because I had 4 children and my husband had 2 when we got married. They're all grown now, but they look at my husband as pops. You know, they see him as a strong head of the family. And if they need something, they can rely on him as a man to cover and protect them and give them strong advice. So talk about how important it is for the unity and the united front before them at all costs.
Well, that's something we agreed upon early. You know, when it came to us disciplining them, like I said, even if we had a disagreement on something that went on with them, they never saw it. So if mom was getting on their case about something and they looking for help from dad, as much as I want to jump in and say, man, you're wrong, I keep my mouth shut till we get, you know, because they need to understand that you can't break this here.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I understood early that kids were funny like that. I give you a short story. When I started dating my wife, and I wasn't in like I should have been, put it that way. Mm-hmm. I'm dating my wife. I'm not, you know, my mindset ain't, I'm not going to get married in a relationship. But when she had these boys, and I noticed when I moved, they moved. Mm-hmm. You know, I would turn a corner and they wouldn't actually go, but they'll look around the corner to see where I'm going. Mm. You know, so I'm like, wait a minute. Now I have someone looking at me.
Oh, man. You're saying something now.
Now I got somebody giving, you know, now I had to rethink my steps. So like I tell them all the time, I lived the life in front of you. Not just telling you, but I purposely lived it so you can see what a man looks like.
Wow. I love it.
I had to make a decision early on when I started with their mother. Okay, if I'm going to be here, they need to see consistency in what a man looks like. I don't want them to see me with a beer up to my mouth all the time, drinking all the time, talking in any kind of way to their mother, treating her any kind of way. They had to see what a man looks like. Understand? You get up in the morning, you go to work. You come home in the evening. You take care of responsibility. You do the things you're supposed to do as a man. You're going to make mistakes, but guess what? You own up to them as a man, and you keep moving. So once they saw that, like I said, they saw consistency, and they saw it with me and their mom. They didn't see a break. Like you said, we would get mad at each other. Yeah, we mad, but guess what we going to do? We're still right here. So they didn't have to worry about it. When mom and dad argued, oh, he going to leave us. No, right here.
It was more about I would leave before he left. So they wasn't worried about that at all.
So when you say unified front, it comes on different phases and different stages. Like you say with your husband, because he was so consistent with them.
Yes.
They understood he's going to be there. I know where to find him. Mm-hmm. You know, I ain't got to look for him. I got to tell people all the time, my kids know my schedule better than I do. If they call here in the morning and I pick up the phone, I'm home, what's wrong with you? Why you at work? Man, I can't get a day off. I'm just saying, Pop, you know, not go to work. So, time the day when the evening come, if I'm not home, Dad, why you ain't home yet? So it was consistency. Mm-hmm. And once they saw that, hey, it was easy. It was easy.
Dr. Val actually got something about unity, and I think that is so powerful. You know, and I tell you, I've been doing a lot of study. As you self-reflect, it makes you think about things, right? And so I was thinking about, you know, unity has a blessing with it. It just does. You know, even the scripture says, "There God command blessings where they're what where they dwell in unity." But you know, unity is normally achieved by two things. There's two reasons why people are unified. Is normally because they have a common goal of value. There's something that's a common goal of value that we have and that we share. And that brings us together, even if we don't like the way you do this, if we don't like the way you do that, that common goal and value bring us together. But then also, one of the things that causes us to have unity is when we have a common enemy. When we know there's a common enemy that's trying to destroy the family, when there's a common enemy that is trying to bring us down, when we recognize that, it causes us, if you would, to close the ranks and we come closer inside of things. And so we know, you know, it's when you reach that feeling like it's you and I against the world, and you get that type of feeling there, it gives you that type of bond. And when I listen to you guys and when I hear you talk about that consistency, so much that I'm hearing from you guys sound like you guys in many ways kind of went back and you redefined what certain things meant, what they meant, because it's more than just an emotion, as you said. But, you know, I don't know, but Ivy Hilliard said something some years ago that I thought was so powerful. I actually wrote it down. He said the power to define is the power to determine destiny. And so when we are able to define what we're in, when we're able to define why we're in it, we're able to define where we are in it, it helps determine our destiny. Because if we don't define this, man, any wind, any situation that comes is able to blow us, you know, blow our house in. And so it goes back to that love thing once again. And Dr. Val, she often talks about love, but you know, love is more than emotion. And so I thought this was the best definition I found, other than 1 Corinthians 13, that love is an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person.
I like that.
It's an unconditional commitment to an imperfect person.
Love it.
Yeah, because love is not an emotion. And so it is so funny, you know, the Bible is filled with talking about love. And we often go to 1 Corinthians 13, but there's so much more. And the thing I've discovered, and I'm thanking God for this because it has helped liberated me. Mm-hmm. Love is centered in the will. It's not centered in the emotions. God commands us to love. He doesn't command us to like. Notice that. He commands us to love, not to like. And that goes back to what you were saying. Hey, even on days when she could be upset about something, or things aren't flowing right, the reason that you can still love her is because it's your will. It's a decision that you made to love her. It came out of your will, not out of your emotion. Because my emotion changed if you burn the rice. My emotion changed, you know, if those things happen. But it's a decision that you make. So inside of that, it sounds like to me you guys have made that decision. You know, it's like we made that decision. We defined where we are, and we make the decision to love, you know, in terms of that, because when God commands us to love, it's a decision. It's just not merely emotion. I hear you say that too, Dr. Val. You say, listen here, because I choose to love my husband. I made a decision to love him. And inside of that, and I just think it's amazing because in today's society, I keep going to this counterculture, this culture that we live in, where so many people define this thing based upon the wrong things. You know, once again, what did you do for me? I mean, you think about it, even in this age of empowerment, I'm hearing very successful, educated folk actually giving advice like, child, you need to check. If his credit score is below this, he's out of here if they're not making that. So let me ask you a question. What happens if the credit score is 850 and they're making all the money, but they have no ability to commit to you and to love you? What happens is all that other stuff is there, but yet it's still the decision to love you isn't there. So where do we put our values?
It's an action word. I tell people all the time, love is an action word. People want to say it and think it's a noun. No, it's an action word. To love someone is to put in action. And to put in action are the things you do.
Yeah.
The things you do it's love. Like you say, when I can do the things for you when I'm not feeling my best, it's because of love. So my action shows you the love. See, it starts as a feeling, but it becomes an action because every day you have to put in the work to do what? Show somebody that you love them.
Wow.
And it's not always the mushy stuff, but like it's something as simple as cooking breakfast in the morning. When you don't
Yes.
feel like it.
Yeah, I like little things.
Yeah.
I'm not a big time girl. I like little simple things.
You know.
We're almost out of time, and I thank you both for joining us and giving information to people. But Rhonda, you were a single mother with boys, not girls, but boys, and there's so many women out there that are functioning as single parents, and they want to get married again, and they make poor choices when it comes to relationships and have exposed their children to so many different men. Can you give some information to help women be more watchful and prayerful as it comes to bringing individuals before their children?
Well, first I would tell the women is to know who you are. Know you. And my upbringing was, of course, you want to be with somebody, but you have to recognize that everybody may not be for you. You know, sometimes we have that thing that say, pray for what you want. But you know what? God has a timing for everything. Because before my husband, I was in a abusive relationship. And thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be, because you don't know no better,
right?
Wow. Because you're listening to those sweet nothings, but then on the other hand, you listen to them fist fights with the choke out that. You know what I'm saying? So study yourself, become a better woman for you, for yourself. That's important, because what he gets out of you, you know who you are. And don't accept anything. And I will tell you, the young girls of the day, they accept anything.
Wow.
They are accepting anything because they don't
just
love
to say themselves. They have a man.
Because they don't love themselves. And they want to be loved. Sometimes we have to go all the way back to our childhood.
Yeah. And
that is very important to recognize that that's a problem there. And a lot of them don't. A lot of people out here thinking counseling is for crazy people, but it's not. Sometimes you need somebody to talk to unload some of that burden and stuff that you have been through in life. So go seek some help and some advice.
I think you guys are so wonderful, man, because the fact it's practical things that you talk about that is so necessary. And when you talked about the fact of even this generation oftentimes settling for anything, and a lot of times they've learned to also reach out for things that are really superficial. They're not game changers. It's the reason why so many things happen. Well, they gave me money. Well, giving you money doesn't necessarily mean that you're being loved. They bought me, they got my hair done. It may not always mean that you're being loved, especially if it's coming from a manipulative place. But what I do believe inside of this, and when I hear the authenticity from you guys that is so powerful, here is that we really have to have a healthy self-esteem about who we are.
Who we are.
Because the healthy self-esteem is so important, because if not, it affects our choices. It affects our choices. It also affects what we tolerate. And I think that sometime after going through so much pain and loss, and sometime we'll put up with anything, but here's a lesson that I can tell you that I've learned. It's taken me all this time to really learn. I learned this, that I can't be around people. I can't have a greater majority of people that need me, but I don't have people that feed me. And sometimes people in relationship with people, and it's superficial. It's always based on their need. They need, I need, but they never feed you.
That's right.
They never feed you. And in the right marriage, I believe greater than agreement, the Bible says, how can two walk together except they agree? But I think greater than agreement is alignment. I think alignment is even greater than agreement, because agreement just simply means that we share the same opinion. But when we talk about alignment, we share the same values. It's the same value. Our opinions can differ. You guys don't always have the same opinion, right? So no, we don't. Hey, I guarantee you, who was going for the Chiefs Sunday, who was going for the 49ers?
My wife was going for the Chiefs because she wanted me to win.
Okay. But my point is that we can have different opinions. Agreement says that we have the same opinion, but alignment says that we have the same values. And when we align ourselves with those same values are the things that guides us.
Right.
Agreement says that we're going the same direction. But alignment says that we're headed to the same goal. And we may not be going the same direction, but we're headed to the same goal. And I think that that's the difference that happens inside of marriages that have not only survived but thrive like yours, because you figured it out. You figured it out that, listen, this is not going to always be butterflies and things like that, but there's something that we value. Our values are aligned with each other. So look, when things don't look good, we fall back on our values. When things may not seem pretty, we fall back on our values. But if you ain't got no values,
but I think it's also important when you're in a marriage for a man to have leadership.
Yeah.
Because your wife or your significant other wants to be in a position to be able to be guided, covered,
and trust you,
love, and to put her trust in you. And I think that's what's been missing, especially in these younger days, when you're talking about these young people and the young women. They have no guidance and leadership from the male perspective. From the garden in the Bible, they talk about, God charged Adam, he didn't charge Eve. He gave him the charge to lead and guide her. Like I tell people, we wasn't in trouble when Eve ate of the fruit.
Not at all.
Because he never told Eve the charge. We fell in trouble when Adam decided to fall out of alignment, as you call it.
Exactly.
When Adam did his thing, all of a sudden now, even when God came back, he never asked for Eve. He said, Adam,
where about?
So if we as men start to take our rightful places in leadership, this thing falls back in what you just called it, alignment. And therefore, that's when marriages work. That's when relationships work. That's when our communities work. That's when things get back in place. As we're old enough now, in our 50s and plus, I'm not going to call you old, Miss Valerie. I'm just talking about me. We go back to our communities, and when we grew up, we looked over to those men in our communities as leaders. Mr. Such and Such down the street, Mr. and Mrs. Such and Such on the corner. When things happen in the neighborhood, the men got together and made sure that let's guide and direct our community and make sure it was better. And we were supported. But if you don't have leadership and guidance from the head, we all fall out of alignment.
Yeah.
It takes something for a woman to fall under you and say, whatever you say, baby. But she has to trust and know that you're going to take care of her.
Yeah.
We had a subscriber, as a matter of fact, she's on now. She was talking about her husband, and she kept telling her husband they were going the wrong way on a bus. He kept telling her, no, it's the right way, it's the right way. She said, she told him again, I think we're going the wrong way. He kept telling her, no, we're going the right way. And she said, at that moment, she submitted herself and said, okay, if you say we're going the right way, then I'm going to follow you. Knowing in her heart the whole time, we're going the wrong way. But it let you know that God had worked in her, in her spirit, in her marriage, to understand that he's the head. I trust him. Whatever goes on, he's going to take care of me.
That's powerful.
Wow.
And it
And one of
says,
the things I liked when you were talking about that, there was a conversation, there was communication, and there's a way that you communicate to
Mhm.
your spouse. You don't talk down to them, but you talk to them.
Mhm.
So that was very powerful.
Mhm.
Wow.
So, you
But
know, for
and
me,
one of the other things that we want everyone to know is that recognize that there's no perfect marriage.
Here we go.
There's no perfect marriage. Every marriage, you have to work at it. Every relationship, you have to work at it.
Yeah.
So we don't call ourselves the perfect couple
Yeah.
but we work at it. We worked at it. And we
And
still
that's where
work.
the love comes in.
And we
Love
still,
covers a multitude of sins and
yes,
faults and
yes.
disagreements.
yeah. So,
You know, it sounds like you guys are still growing, and it sounds like you're giving yourself permission to grow. And I think that's another part, that when we stop growing, when we lose hunger and we don't want to grow, when we start holding, I call it faults, and we hold you prisoner to your last mistake, and we hold you prisoner to your last failure, we hold you prisoner to it, then we can't grow, because what we're simply saying is that I'm not going to let you out of this one. You messed up last time. But I believe that growth is necessary. It's constantly evolving, because the person that you married at 26 is not the person that you're married to at 56. Things
Ooh.
change about them. And sometime in our mind, if we have not defined, once again, being able to define,
Mhm.
being able to define it is the ability to determine the destiny of it. And so what do I understand? I understand this, that I may have married her at 26, but I better have a vision of her at 56. I better
Mm.
be willing to understand that she's going to evolve in some areas. I better be willing to recognize that there may be some health challenges down the way, but I'm in it to win it. I'm committed to this thing, and this is where I'm going. And by the same token, I say to women, because I think it is a trick. I think it's a trick of the enemy in today's world to get you to focus solely on finances, solely on those things there, and not understand that, man, listen, money will run out. It's like being broke is temporary, but poverty is a state of mind. And he may go through a situation where there's a drought. Well, the real test of your relationship, are you able to go through the drought with it?
That's
Are you
right.
able to come up with it? What are we able to do together? Because it should build us and bring us together. But we live in a society today, but man, no, it becomes disposable. And I think that that's why you guys are a testament, because growth is nothing but sustained change. It's sustained change. When I grow, it's sustained change. I'm not the same anymore. I've learned from my pain. I've learned from my lessons. And so guess what? Now I'm growing. But the proof of my growth is my sustained change. There are things I will never do again like I did it before, because I'm growing.
That's
So I
right.
didn't just go through, I've grown through. And when I learned to grow through what I go through, that is what we call evolution. That is change. And it's beautiful to see that you guys have changed. You have grown into this thing. And it's amazing to me. You guys look like you shine more at this stage in your life. You look like there's a light and a glow about you more at this stage of the life. And so from the outside looking in, one sees the wisdom. They see the illumination in your life, and that's priceless. That's worth gold right there alone.
We thank
Well,
you.
well,
thank
I
you.
appreciate you both for joining us on Hot Topics from the Soul. And do you have any closing statements or anything that you want to share? Because I think it's very important for us to give information that will sustain individuals so that they can move forward in life, because so many people are stuck. They're stuck in their emotions of what was instead of what can be. So if you have any information that you would want to share as we close out the show, I greatly appreciate it.
How can people reach you all? Give an idea about your marriage seminars and things. That's
Okay. Well, you can reach us on Facebook. We have a marriage group called Marriage Conversation with the Turners. So you
Okay.
can reach out there. Well, we do monthly live on Facebook with married couples.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So you can reach us there, or you can reach
Is it in a private group?
It's in the private group, so you can
Okay.
just join. It's just for married couples, but you can also, I have a Facebook page, which we share, but it's just my name, Rhonda Williams Turner. So you can inbox me there. We also have the Marriage Award Soiree, and the Marriage Award Soiree came from my idea of, not seeing enough positive people understanding those positive marriages out there. Everybody fight against, they talk about the bad of the marriage, but nobody talk about there are some good marriages out there. So that concept came in, and I wanted to share Palm Beach County married couples. And we don't pick the couples, but we know they're out there. So we ask everybody to nominate their couple that they see that is positive out there in Palm Beach County. And
Okay, so it's isolated to Palm Beach.
right now. I have
Okay.
Palm Beach County, but I'm starting Broward. September the 7th is Broward County. Palm
Okay.
Beach County is July the 27th. So we're just taking it one city at a time right now. But
Is there an email address that they can reach you at? Because I usually have it up, but I didn't get a chance to get it for
yes, it's the number 4 knowledgeispower@gmail.com.
Wow. Love it.
But
Now,
Number 4, knowledgeispower@gmail.
yes.
So I just want to know, can people that may not be married kind of peek in on the soiree or, and glean from it?
We have people that's not married that actually attend. We don't want you to think that it's only for married couples, because you may need to come and get some, understanding
Exactly.
on how everything is going.
Exactly. Pouring
But
to you.
we have a comedian, a live band. It's very nice, but we just wanted to celebrate married couples because we don't do that.
Mhm.
We don't celebrate our married couples. We want people to understand that yes, they're married, but they're not perfect.
Right.
But you get closer to that, we want to have you back on the show so
Okay.
that you can, promote it and give some further insight for individuals to attend and be a part of that conference.
Wow.
Yeah, just like I say, just make sure if you're not doing anything, just check out the website. We have pictures and things on there from previous events. We also do a college tour, the For Knowledge Power Historical College Tour, which is next month. We've been doing that for 20 years. So we take kids on college
Wow,
tours.
that's awesome.
Yeah, we take kids on college tours.
And the website again?
The number 4 knowledgeispower.org.
Okay.
And so those are some, like she said, we also have the Broward County soiree coming up. It's our first annual. So we're going to branch out into Broward this year. And like I say, we don't want you to think you have to be married to come to our soiree. It's for everybody. It's for anybody and everybody. We just want them to see uplift marriages that they're making it out here in this world, and they're surviving, and there's some good marriages still out here. And we think we should celebrate. We celebrate everything else.
Right.
So why not celebrate marriage?
Well, I greatly appreciate you guys. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You constantly send. I get all your notification and thing, and I be saying to myself, boy, they still thinking about me. I just take it personally. You might send it to everybody, but I take it personally. And I think that's good because I have not always been able to laugh about marriage and divorce. I have not that I laugh about divorce, but I've not always been able to laugh because I was still stuck in my pain. I was still doing those.
And you're not the only one. And always remember that you're not. It's so many.
Yeah,
so many.
But we learn, because I believe with pain and reflection comes progress. Right? You take your pain, you reflect over it, and you deal with it, and you have progress. And I believe that when we reflect, and this is what's so good. This is why I'm so excited. Dr. Val is looking at me like, boy, you hardly let anybody got a word in, because the fact there's an excitement for me inside of my healing. There's an excitement for me. And what I understand is that when I reflect, it turns my experience to insight. Now I have insight that I didn't have before. But when I hear and observe individuals like yourself, you're pouring into me. You're pouring into me. You're watering that seed. And that's what's exciting for me in terms of this. And I promise you that's my last words for the night.
Well, thank you, Dr. J, for joining the Hot Topics from the Soul. Along with the Turners. And please, please, please support them in the work they're doing, because at the end of the day, they are empowering and inspire you to be the best you ever. And always remember that love is not just a feeling. From Jason and Rhonda Turner. Thank you for joining us on Hot Topics from the Soul.
Good night.
Good night.